Hey guys, welcome back to yet another YouTube video, the first for a while actually. I've been pretty busy with work over the last few weeks, so I've been really neglecting my YouTube channel for quite a while, and I thought this was the perfect time, of course, obviously with the Premier League season starting this weekend. I'm gonna do my predictions for this season. It's gonna be very different. Last year I did do a table prediction, which recording for it went way too long. So instead, I'm gonna be doing this into into separate parts, which is predicting who I think will be champions at the end of the season, top scorer, which team is guaranteed. I think will guarantee to be relegated. The biggest who I think will be the biggest surprise this season, who will be the biggest disappointment. Of course, the player of the season, the sack race, who do I think will get sacked first, and my bold predictions. So let's get into the obvious one straight away, the champions. It's obvious there's two obvious candidates. Of course, Liverpool and Manchester City. Maybe Chelsea if the rumours are true, they're getting a Aubameyang. Yeah. And it's obvious. I was close to tipping close to tipping Liverpool. Sorry, but I'm gonna have to say Liverpool. Said the wrong team. Manchester City, I think, will be Premier League champions again at the end of this season. Adjusting camera. So yeah, and I think for me, it's mainly the Haaland effect. I think he'll make that team a lot better. I think we've now Aguero long gone, and of course Gabriel Jesus, who's gone over to Arsenal. He's probably the only striker there. The only problem is the last couple of seasons when he was at Borussia Dortmund, he was a bit injury prone. So that's my only concern for Manchester City. If Haaland is not 100% fit throughout all the season, that will be my concern. But yeah, I think and other than that, if you discount Haaland, these are the names. These are the names which some of you guys might know. Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Rodri, Ruben, can't speak English. Ruben Diaz, Jack Grealish, Joan Cancelo, Aymeric Laporte, Edison, Riyad Mahrez, John Stones, Ilkay Gundogan, or Gundogan, whatever you want to call it, and Kyle Walker. What else is there to say? Really about that. So yeah. So I think Manchester City. I think it'll be again between City and Liverpool, but I think City only just in the end. To being champions of England yet again. The top scorer I have gone with Erling Haaland. I said Haaland, now Haaland is a bit different there. I'll mix between the two. So as I said earlier, I think the problem is he might get injury prone. It is a bit injury prone, as he proved the previous couple of seasons at Dortmund, and that was probably the reason why Dortmund didn't challenge Bayern for the Bundesliga title, which by the way I will be doing another prediction on, later, probably after this video is out. By the time this video is out. I should say. But Haaland, I was gonna say Mohamed Salah, but I think with now with Sadio Mane out, gone to Bayern, it's and of course, Darwin. Of course, Darwin is still a young prospect. I'm not expecting him to do something amazingly spectacular. And also you got Diego Jota as well, who has been good, great for Liverpool, but I don't think he's that winger, that Mane replacement. I think he likes to probably play more in the centre, more of a centre forward role, which of course is already taken, of course, by Roberto Firmino. So that's a bit of a problem with that. So that's why, and I went with Haaland, whatever you want to call it. And obviously, other than those two, there's not clear. Maybe Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, maybe that might spring to mind. But I think I have a feeling that Harry might be focused on the World Cup with England, maybe. I think most of the nations that are going to be at the World Cup this year, are probably wanting to be fit so they don't, or not get injured pre-World Cup, so they can basically play for their country, pretty much. So yeah, but I think the reason why I say Haaland and Salah is, I think Egypt, I need to remember, I think Egypt are not playing this World Cup. I know Norway isn't, but I don't know if Egypt is. I need to check that out. I think someone comment down below, please, and check it out myself, and check out themselves if Egypt are in the World Cup. I don't think so, as well. So yeah, relegation. So this is a team that is most likely to get relegated. Who I think are guaranteed to get relegated, I should say. And I think, judging by their form from the back half of the previous campaign, and only just surviving by the skin of their teeth, is Leeds United. I think Jesse Marsh. I don't see him lasting the year for some reason. Or it's either that, or they get relegated and he leaves the club at the end of that season. Like Leeds, like according to Transfermarkt, which I highly recommend you going on if you're a big fan of soccer or football, for us European, for our European friends out there. Transfermarkt is the #1 place for everything, pretty much, from all leagues around the world. So they only have 3 players that have a market value of over $20 million US dollars. I could do it in pounds, but unfortunately, I don't know how to. There's no such thing as a pound sign key on my laptop, so I had to make do with that. And fun fact, 2 of them are actually from that actually had recently arrived at Leeds, which are Brendan Aronson, who came from RB Salzburg, and Luis Citera, as well, as another new arrival as well. And the other one is Ilian Mislijevic, who is their goalkeeper. Their big loss was losing Rafinha to Barcelona. All their another fun fact is all their signings and their loanees this season are all aged between 18 to 25, which is quite young to be honest. They've spent over almost 120 million pound almost 120 million dollars in this window which small teams and teams that have that are promoted, them spending big on players, it's proved to have not worked. The main example of this was Fulham when they got promoted in 2018. They spent something like £100 million on players, and they end up getting relegated. So sometimes it works, but it's proved in recent years that it hasn't worked, and it'll either be a success, and I'll eat my words, and basically everybody be gushing over the fact that, oh, look at this spending that Leeds did, it was amazing. And then on the other side of the coin, I'll be right, and then they end up getting relegated or thrusted in another relegation battle. The average age of their arrivals is 24.1 in comparison to their departures, so it's 24.7. So it's a 0.6 difference between the average age of their arrivals and their departures. So it's a bit even, pretty much. Their total squad average age is 24.4, which I don't know if usually that works a young side in a European league like the Premier League, for example. I don't know if that works, but I think that they could. But it's a pretty young side, and you need some experience, which I don't think they have much. I don't think they do have experience, but I don't think they have much of that. And from last season, their 17 games since the new year, they've only scored 22 points and an average of 1.2 points per game. So far in 2022. So their end to the season wasn't that great. And they only saved themselves in the final game of the season. And that tells you something. And usually teams like Leeds who haven't been into the Premier League before, or teams like Bournemouth back in 2015 that hadn't been in the Premier League before, or Brentford this season haven't been in the Premier League before, and then teams like Leeds in 2020, and probably more than likely Nottingham Forest this year. They basically last a couple of 3, 4, 5 seasons, and then they get relegated. Well, they don't do a Fulham where they basically just go get promoted and then back down again, back up, but back down again. So So yeah, with that. That said, I think Leeds, I believe, judging by their form from the back half of previous campaign and the fact that it's a bit hard to say that Rafinha, they actually replaced Rafinha. Maybe Sinistera, Luis Sinistera might be a good replacement, but I've looked up on Transfermarkt and it says that he plays right wing while Rafinha plays left wing. So I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know how, but yeah. But I think I think Leeds, I believe, if I haven't looked up their first month of the season, but I have a feeling that if they have a bad start to the year, then they're going to be in big trouble. I think for this campaign. Moving on. That took longer than expected. The biggest surprise, I think, some people say, oh, it's going to be West Ham again. Or it's going to be Wolves, probably Wolves. Probably maybe Newcastle. But I think Aston Villa, are going to be the biggest surprise this year. I think they can contend for Europe. Now, of course, this season, it is Steven Gerrard's first full season in charge of Aston Villa after being the replacement coach last season when Mike Smith got the sack. So I think for me, I think like looking up Stevie G's first season at Rangers, that season, even though they finished second to Celtic in the 18-19 season, they scored 82 goals, which was the best in the league in that season, and 27 goals conceded, which was the second best. The only team that they didn't beat in terms of defensively in the league was, of course, the champions in Celtic. So I'm not saying that Aston Villa are going to contend for top four. That is probably not going to be a chance. But contending for Europe, that is a realistic chance for Aston Villa, really. And the depth in the squad the way it is, even though that it is one of the oldest squads in the Premier League, I think the quality that is there, I believe that could be enough for Aston Villa to mount a serious charge for being the best of the rest outside the top 6 teams, or maybe even contending for Europe. I think that would be great. In comparison to Leeds had 3 players who had a market value of over $20 million. Aston Villa has 15. Yeah, that's right. 15 players that are valued over $20 million or more. Only 2 were new arrivals, or new arrival, in the quote of Philippe Coutinho, because basically he was out on loan last year from Barcelona, and now he's actually permanently there at Aston Villa now. The names here, which is Diego Carlos, who is a new arrival, Douglas Luiz, Ollie Watkins, John McGinn, Emiliano Buendia, Tyrone Mings, Emiliano Martinez, Lucas Digne, Leon Bailey, who was actually when he was in the Bundesliga, he was actually quite good. Boubacar Kamara, Matty Cash, Jacob Ramsey, Ursula Konza, Philippe Coutinho and Danny Ings. So I actually like the way I said that, Ings. So yeah, just a bit of comedy there for you guys. Possibly maybe comedy for me, probably it is, but some of you guys probably think so. So yeah, so I think this new signings of Carlos and in particular Coutinho, permanently. I think that those are smart. I think those are smart signings. Especially Philippe Coutinho. Now, from what I've heard here, I think he was great when he was there. He was good when he was there at Aston Villa last season. I haven't heard much of Diego Carlos. I haven't heard it being from him, but yeah. But I think they're smart in a way where basically I think they can improve the quality of their squad. And both of them are definitely gonna be first team players, definitely. I think the other players in Louise, Bailey, Buendia, and Watkins, I think they should take the squad to the next level in other words, contending for Europe. In other words, so I think that is possibly that. In that way, I think yeah, and I think that would be great also if West Ham also do what they've done for the last couple of seasons, and that final European spot between West Ham and Aston Villa, that would be very intriguing this season if that actually does come true. Everton. Sorry, not Everton. Sorry, wrong one. Sorry about that. A bit of a blooper there. The disappointment of the season. I could have gone for a club. I could have gone for a player, but I've gone for a coach who is in his very first season in the Premier League. This guy's been successful over in Eredivisie in the Netherlands with Ajax, and that is Erik ten Hag. When I first heard about this announcement, I thought, wow, I think this is a great get for Manchester United to get someone in like Erik ten Hag. That was until I watched ESPN FC's video about talking about the rules that Erik ten Hag has brought into the club, which I highly recommend you finding that video and watching it yourselves, and their explanation was just priceless, and their shock was priceless as well. I think those type of rules, like I don't have them listed right now, but those rules, I mean, you've heard this old saying, rules are meant to rules are meant to be broken, and there will be certain players that will break those type of rules, especially at Manchester United. Manchester United have been very disappointing, not capitalising on the talent that is there, like Rashford, like Greenwood, so on and so forth. Of course, they're not capitalised, and also, even though that the return of the great one, Cristiano Ronaldo, didn't even save them from their worst season in Premier League history, and they went through, of course, 2 managers in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was then let go, and then Ralph Rangnick, which was absolute jokes. Saying that I think he agreed to be the Austrian national team coach, and then take on a consultancy role, I believe, something like that, at Manchester United at the same time this season, which I do not get why he would be in those two positions. But yeah, but I think if Erik ten Hag, if Manchester United get off to a bad start this season, there is a possibility that the Manchester United fans and board will instantly lose patience with him. Lose patience with him and possibly could leave the club. Speaking about that, I will be mentioning about that later. The player of the season, Kevin De Bruyne. It's quite obvious, really. I could have gone again with Mohamed Salah, but again, the no Mane effect really put me into the conclusion that no, I'm not going to pick Salah. So next choice was De Bruyne. I think he'll be the top assist getter again. He'll probably be up there in terms of the top scoring midfielders. I'd assume that is if he's healthy. Of course, Belgium's in the World Cup, so I don't know if he's going to take it easy in this time before the World Cup starts, and then the World Cup comes around, and then he just basically does what he likes. And yeah, so no-brainer really. Moving on, the sack race. Who do I think will get the sack first? There's many options that I could have gone with. Could have gone with Jesse Marsh from Leeds. I could have gone. Could perhaps go with another coach, but this one, I believe, if this club doesn't get if this club gets off to a terrible start this season, he won't last long, and that is Frank Lampard at Everton. Everton survived by the skin of their teeth last season. For most of the second half of the year, there was this talk of, wow, could Everton perhaps maybe get relegated? Which spoiler, I think they could get relegated. There's the possibility that they could be in a relegation battle again, and this is why I believe that will be the case. Now, that they have not 9 players that have a value over $20 million or more according to Transfermarkt. Like some of these players, like I know like for example James Tarkowski, who was at Burnley. He's a new arrival, but some of the others, they had mediocre seasons last year. In particular, like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who was one of the finds of the season in 2020-21, who started that season on fire, and he probably hasn't gone back to that since. And then Abdullah Decore as well. Of course, I've said Tarkowski, as I said. Damari Gray, Michael Keane, Jordan Pickford, Yeri Minya, Ben Godfrey, and Anthony Gordon, who is actually one of the stars of the future for Everton. He's only 21. I think he's only 21 years of age, I believe. So this Everton side is not young, by the way. This is their average age is 26.6. That's their and they don't have that much older players either. They only have 10 players that are 28 years or older, and they don't have any younger players either. Much younger players either. They're mainly just 25, 26, 27-year-old players as well. the big thing for me, and the reason why I say that I probably tip them to get relegated along with Leeds is because basically Richarlison. He adds that spark and that flair to that Everton team. And unfortunately, now that he's gone to Tottenham, it's unclear what his role will be in that side. Excuse me. And they haven't replaced him really. They haven't replaced him. Really, probably Dwight McNeil, who's also another winger, another attacker, which they bought from Burnley. Maybe he could fill the void, but I don't see anybody in that squad that is capable of replacing Richarlison in a way, in flair, and also adding that spark to Everton's attack. I don't see anything of that. They might maybe have a replacement. You know, there's still a long time left in this transfer window, so they probably might get someone in that is probably at the same level. Excuse me, the same level as Richarlison, and yeah, so that could be a choice right there. And finally, the bold prediction. I think this is probably going to be bold. And that is, I predict Erik ten Hag to be sacked by the end of the year. I don't think it's because of I have a feeling I don't think it's because of performances. I think the board would want to go in a direction, and then Erik ten Hag said, no, I don't believe in it. I think this is the way to go. And then of course the board wouldn't agree about that. So that's how. So in other words, I believe that he'll be sacked by mutual consent. In other words, and I think that it would be, if I were to pick a time when he will be, if he does get sacked, when, I think it'll be between early to mid-December. I don't see it being much earlier than that. I think that will be when the time when the mid-season comes. Mid-season comes around, maybe towards late December, because of course with the World Cup then as well. So I think that is. I think there's a possibility that Erik ten Hag might get the sack, as I said, because of mutual consent, in a way that basically the board would want to go in one direction, while ten Hag is saying, no, I don't agree with that. We need to go in this direction, and basically the board says, no, we don't like that. We're not budging. We're not, and then they try to meet halfway, they don't, and then we go, well, unfortunately, your services are no longer required. That's the possibility that could happen, and obviously these strict rules that he's implied, that's gonna be tough on the players, because as I said, the old saying goes, rules are meant to be broken, and some of those players are going to break those rules. Simple as that. So yeah. That is it for my Premier League predictions. I am gonna do another prediction, this time on the Bundesliga, the German league, which is gonna be very interesting. So, and before I leave this video, I am before the Premier League and the Bundesliga season start, I might maybe on my Instagram page at Brados11YT post what my table predictions would be, including who do I think will also get promoted up to the Premier League via the Championship, or in other words, in the Bundesliga, who I think will be in the relegation playoff, and who will get promoted from the second division in the Bundesliga. So yeah. So of course, like this video. Comment down below what are your predictions. Who do you think will be Premier League champions at the end of the season? Who do you think will be top goal scorer? Who do you think will get relegated? Who do you think will get player of the season? I would love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Share this to anybody that is a Premier League fan. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is named subscribe. So yeah, so until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later, and wherever you may be, may the sun shine or the moon shines on you.